Okay. Hello, friends of Love for Volleyball, Amor por el Volleyball. Today, I would like to introduce you to Michael Marshman, an American professional player with an extensive experience in France, in French clubs, and with his country national team. I also thank Silvano Prandi for making this interview possible, and I invite you to follow my channels on social networks. After this brief introduction, who better than Michael to tell us about his wonderful sport life? Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hello, great. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to share my story, and yeah, shout out Mr. Prandi. Thank you very much for connecting the two of us.
Fantastic. And Michael, to start, tell me please, why did you start playing volleyball? Was volleyball your first sport, your first choice?
No, it's actually a very maybe classic story for an American, for most Americans. My first sport was basketball, being tall. My family also really liked basketball. My father played, and so I was focused on basketball from a young age. And my basketball coach in middle school, so in 8th grade, was my high school volleyball coach, and he encouraged me to try to play volleyball and to see if I liked it. And he said, you know, worst case scenario, you will stay in shape for basketball. And it turned out I fell in love with volleyball directly, you know, right away. And volleyball quickly became my first sport after that.
Fantastic. And where did you play? You play at school, at college? How was your history in being a young player?
Yeah, I started in high school. So at 14 years old in 9th grade, I played for, we call it the junior varsity. Played for the junior varsity team. I was so very bad at volleyball because I was brand new. But we had a great group of talented players in this young group that I wanted to keep playing. So after the school season, we played in the fall in New York. So after the school season, I wanted to play more. So I played just for a local club. We didn't travel outside of the city. But it really, like, that was my first experience playing. You know, it was in high school and then this small little local club. And from then on, things just started growing and I started to venture out more.
Super. And this time, do you have some figure or idol you admired? Because I tell you this because in my time, many years ago, we watched the Brazilian players, the Russian players, the Argentinian players, and we wanted to play like them. Do you have some idol you wanted to emulate, or maybe not?
Yes, no, absolutely. Once I got hooked on volleyball, I started to learn more about it. You know, I wanted to know, like, you know, what is this sport? What's the potential of this sport? And just shortly after I started playing was the 2008 Olympics, where the U.S. men really, you know, they put the sport in the spotlight again. And of course, guys like Lloyd Ball was one of the big faces of the team. But for me, I really admired Clay Stanley. Obviously, a big opposite with a big shoulder, amazing serve. This is one of my idols first growing up. And then as I started learning the game, the other players like Matt Anderson started to become, you know, a figure, a role model to try and emulate. And you know, other players such as internationally, like Dante from Brazil was an incredible attacker. You know, Lukau, middle blocker, and you know, Muzerski, who and when I started following volleyball in the later Olympics, these guys were just incredible to see at a young age. So yeah, mostly started with Clay Stanley, and then from there I grew my knowledge internationally.
Fantastic. And you always have played as a middle blocker? Because Clayton, Stanley, or Anderson, they're opposite players. Do you always play it as a middle blocker, or do you have some to tell about this?
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't always play as a middle. I started learning volleyball as a middle blocker, and then my second year playing at 15 years old, I became an opposite.
Okay.
And it was basically just because in our school we just had good middles. And I had like this natural kind of inter-rotation, I forget which one it is. a good natural swing for the opposite. So my coach said, Mike, why don't you try? We could use an opposite. And yeah, I became very naturally, good at this position. And so when I saw guys like Clay Stanley, I was trying to follow him as much as possible. A perfect role model, perfect idol. And yeah, I actually played opposite my whole junior career and was recruited to my college team as an opposite, but then later went back to being a middle.
Okay, I must skip some question because we're talking about your position in volleyball as a middle blocker. And I also played as a middle blocker in Chile. I'm very small compared with international level, but I love to play in the middle to block. In my time, libero doesn't exist, and I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about being a middle blocker, and after you serve, you must get out of the court? What do you think about this, or maybe you like it?
I'll tell you what, I'm very happy I don't have to serve receive, because
Okay.
serve reception for me is really, really one of the most I don't know, it's just one of the most difficult and maybe like overlooked skills. Clearly it's like an essential part, but for people to really feel how difficult it is to constantly be under that pressure and to constantly like be consistently good at serve reception, I think it's not, maybe not overlooked, but maybe undervalued a little bit. It's really like, I don't know, as a middle blocker trying to serve receive in practice, sometimes I'm like, wow, you guys make this look very easy. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. But yeah, no, it's frustrating. Like when you miss a serve, of course, you feel like, shoot, I didn't give my best to the team, and now I have to walk to the bench and I cannot like immediately, give back to the team or earn the point back. So yeah, this part is frustrating, but no, I'm very happy I don't have to serve receive, because that is a very, very difficult skill to do at a very high level.
Understand. You mentioned Lucao from Brazil, and he's a back row player, back row player, attacker of the three middle line. It's very, very strange in this time that a middle blocker make this kind of attacker. It's amazing. I wanted to ask you now, Michael, about your career. You said you're playing in college, and when did you think? When did you thought about being a professional player? Because volleyball in the United States, it's very big, especially in college level. But so did you talk with somebody who told you, okay, you can make a career of this, or it was something natural?
I think it was just seeing some players around me. I knew I really wanted to play volleyball at a high level. I wanted to see how far I could do it. And I think I knew deep in myself I had the potential to do it. I knew it would need just a lot of work. And I think it started around my second year in university, where I realized, maybe this could be a possibility, because I started seeing some really big college players like Aaron Russell and Thomas Jeske, like, going through this process. So yeah, and everyone, all the seniors every year are like, getting some offers, or some, looking to try and play at the next level. So that's when I was interested in it, and then thought, maybe I have a chance. And then later on, my senior year, I had a good friend who played in Finland, and he helped connect me with an agent, and that's kind of how I got my first agent and started my career.
And you started in Finland. How was it for you to play in Finland?
So I know the club I played for, Raisian Loimu, is like a very historical club. So this was a great honor, and I think it was a great starting point for a young middle blocker. I think I underestimated what it took to be a professional, and I was always someone who worked very hard and who was very serious about volleyball. But I think there was some small things that I just didn't realize, and it was a big learning curve for sure. Finland is you have the lack of sunlight, you have lots of snow, cold language. I totally did not realize how difficult it would be to to just see the languages on the roads, in the stores, everything. I was like a little bit culture shocked for the first time in my life. But I was very lucky because I had a very good team and great teammates around me. I played with two other Americans, and those guys really helped, get through that season and finish the season in a good way. We didn't have the best season. We were fighting in the relegation, but we ended up winning the relegation. The team stayed in the league, and we finished on a good note. So, yeah, it was quite the season, quite the learning experience that season.
So, and you jumped after Finland directly to France, or how was it your next club or your next country?
Yeah, so right after that, I always had the idea I wanted to try and play in the French championship. I knew it was a very good level. And even if I could be in the French Pro B championship,
Yeah.
I knew the market was really, really kind of closed off in France, to where it would help at least being in the second division there to help yourself get noticed for a team in the first division. So I was always like, with the intention and goal to play in France. And luckily, Cedric Logas from Plessy Robinson gave me the opportunity to play there right after my season in Finland. And what a great first impression in France, to live just outside of Paris was really, really nice, and yeah, so this was my first experience after that, and then it allowed me to grow and kind of climb the ladder in the French championship.
And France was your first choice, or it was a casualty? Or why didn't you choose, for example, Italy or Germany or Poland? Was it exclusive because of your friend who gave you this contact, or maybe you were choosing? Okay, you said France is the country I'm dreamed to play in, or maybe not.
If I had the choice, of course I would have chose maybe like Italy or a Poland, but I just was realistic with myself. I knew I was a very raw player, like physically. I wasn't the most polished with my blocking, with my serving, even in attack. I was a good jumper, but I needed to get more experience. I needed to develop my game more. So I at least had the self-awareness to know that. And I didn't want to like limit myself, but I knew that maybe someday I can play in Italy, someday I can play in Poland. But right now I need to kind of like put in the work, put in the time. And I felt that France was a good championship, or even Germany was a good championship to kind of do that, to take the time to work on my different sectors of my game, and to really polish it up to become the player that I would like to be one day. Yeah, there were some offers from Germany as well. It just, the way it happened was just I came to France, and in the end, and yeah, it was okay. But no, it was nothing very special. It was just the opportunity that arrived, and it ended up working out pretty well.
I wanted to ask you about you said it a little before about the experience of being a professional player, because as a professional athlete, you must put aside many things, social things, your family time, being with your family. You're far away from your family. But how has it been until now? It's like a good life. Do you enjoy being a volleyball professional player? Is it too hard? What are your feelings about being a professional player?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like what a chance to be able to play volleyball, as your occupation, as your job. It's honestly like,
it's a dream.
It's a dream. Yeah, it is a dream. Like it's really easy when the season's difficult, or when you're losing matches, to forget about this, because you're so focused on working, you're so focused on winning the next match. But really, at the end of the day, like, yes, we are very lucky to be in this position. So I'm very happy. I think I was always not sure when my career was gonna sort of stop, because I was always playing for small clubs, small contracts, and I was always like kind of slightly taking steps forward. And I always told myself, like, when you started to go down, or when you started to plateau, maybe it would be time to stop. But every season, I feel like it's been more and more interesting. So I'm very lucky to be in this position here in tour, and I think what's cool is, like we mentioned about what it takes to be a professional, and all the other things. I've experienced more and more every year, but this experience in tour is the most intensive season I've had so far about being a real professional player. So I personally love it. I love it because it reminds me of the time with the national team, the focus, the flow, like everything is just super just intentional, and you're working very strictly and very hard towards the ultimate goal of winning a championship. So right now I'm very happy, and I like being a professional. I realized in Chaumont, under Mr. Prandi, that this is what I want to do, and I want to keep doing it until I can't anymore, or they don't want me anymore.
And Michael, tell me, after the Olympics in Paris, after the second Olympic medal for the France, do you feel something different in France about volleyball, or still soccer is the main sport in France, and you must fight against rugby, I don't know, cycling? How is it for the volleyball players like you to be in France, where maybe other sports are more important?
Yeah, absolutely. Like football is still number one. Also, like rugby in France is very popular, and even handball is like an extremely popular sport here. So volleyball is still like this fourth tier sport in the country, but it's definitely picking up some momentum. The French people are very proud when a team, especially a national team, does very well, and when the men's team has won back-to-back Olympic gold, everyone is extremely supportive and proud, and the French love to take pride in this. So it's still gaining some momentum. The biggest thing for the championship now this year is that Irving Engapeth is playing right now for his hometown Poitiers, and you're having a little bit of the Irving effect, where every match he attends is sold out. Every match he plays, almost every match is on TV, national TV. So we just played against Poitiers our last match, and it was sold out in 10 minutes. Fans were lining up after the match to take photos and autographs. So right now it's very unique, because Irvin is now not only back-to-back gold medalist, but back-to-back MVP. So he has become this enormous personality internationally, not only in France. So now it's interesting at the moment, but it's definitely been growing since I've been here, and it's been really unique to be a part of.
Fantastic. And tell me, please, Michael, about your experience as a national player from the United States. How was it for you to be part of this process? Tell me more, please, about this.
Yeah, no, this is a dream come true. It was a dream I kind of let go a little bit, actually, because I didn't start with the national team until I was 28 years old, so very late. I went to a small university, and then after my first season professionally, I was in touch with Coach Furbringer, and I went and did a little bit of a training period with the national team right after my first pro season. And after this, Coach Furbringer left the national team for a period of time, and I kind of lost that communication and that connection. When he came back, it was around that time where I was kind of like, okay, maybe the national team's just not going to work out for me. Like, maybe that's a dream I can just kind of accept, that maybe it's not going to happen, and I can focus on my professional career. And then after we had a great season in Chaumont, we lost in the finals my first year there. I just on a whim reached out to him and said, hey, if you ever need a middle in the gym to help out, I'm here. Like, I would be more than happy to come out myself and to just train and be an extra body in the gym for training. And then he said, I'd like you to be on the Pan American team this summer. And I was like, whoa, okay. So that alone was like great for me. I know that's usually the starting point for many guys, but honestly, at 28 years old, making this Pan Am roster, I was extremely grateful. And right now, being a part of that group, that bigger group, it's a dream come true. And going into Los Angeles, I know there's a lot of work to be done to be one of those guys that gets selected, but I couldn't be more excited to just embrace the chance, and I know there's going to be a lot of guys around me, so at the very least I want to help everyone get better. But it's just been like a dream come true, and I can't wait to keep working the next 4 years.
Absolutely, you said the right words. A dream come true, especially with the new head coach, Kurt Curley.
Yeah,
As many people say, the GOAT in volleyball, the greatest of all time.
I would say so. Yeah,
it must be very, very challenging for a player like you. And I think it's fantastic with this age to start in the national team. I think maybe today in this time, a player over 30 and maybe sometimes near the 40s can play absolutely at the best level. Not in my time. My time, a player with 30 years was very old and thinking of retirement. And how do you think the national team, because the national team in Paris went with bronze, and how do you think you can be part of this process? Because I know it's very, very hard. There are so many good players in the United States. How do you think, what are your tools to be maybe part of the team that could play in Los Angeles?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's stuff I'm trying to still kind of figure out myself. What are things that I can bring to the team that's unique for myself? I know, like, in attack, I attack more in the quicker side. I have a good jumping ability, and I try to attack with speed. So I think this is someone I looked up to a lot was Taylor Averill.
Yeah.
And I still talk to him a lot in the summertime. And what still impresses me so much about him is the speed of his attack. And I would like to try to, in my own way, emulate that a bit. The quickness in the quick attack, with my jumping ability, and to try and have a good force as a middle attacker as well. And block, I feel like I'm growing a lot of experience in block, and every year I'm learning so much more in, like, the finer details as well. So if I can provide some experience and some, like, calm presence at the net, or at least in the group, as when it comes to experience and, like, blocking, I would love to be able to provide that as well. I know serve, I'm not the normal American server, because usually, though, everyone has, like, an absolute bomb of a shoulder and they're crushing the ball. I know me, I'm gonna have to be more of a finessive and smart server. That doesn't mean it's gonna be I'm a bad server. I just have to find new tactical ways to get the opposing team in more difficult situations. So other than that volleyball stuff, I think just I'm now a 9-year professional. If I were to be, considered for Los Angeles, I'd be a 13-year professional. This is a lot of experience, I think, and I try to be the best teammate possible and the most encouraging teammate possible. So at the very minimum, if I can provide those two things, the experience and the leadership, and also the experience, I would love to be able to use those qualities as well.
Fantastic. And I want to ask you now about your experience at Pan American Games or BNL. I don't know. How was it for you to be part of this team? You are a professional player many years ago, but to put on your T-shirt with your flag, is it different for you, or maybe not? Because many times in Chile, for example, when we put on our national team T-shirt, it's something special because it's your country, you're representing your family, your friends. Is it the same for you, or maybe you have so great sports in America, so many athletes, so much history, and especially in volleyball. How was it for you? I think obviously it's fantastic, but how do you feel to put on this without these things and your t-shirts and be part of this.
Yeah, no, I feel the same, like you said, and I want to comment, during this last Pan American Cup we played against Chile, and I want to remark that it Chile has the best national anthem, because I've never seen a team so proud and like singing the national anthem so loud. Like that was a very like when we're facing them and we're respecting their time for the national anthem. I know me personally, I was like, wow, these guys are proud to play, and like we need to be ready, because they're going to be a different player.
My question, because we love our country, we love our country. We know that we are not the best in volleyball since ever, but we love and we try to do our best in the field. So that's because my question about what are your feelings about to be a national player, to put on your shirt, to be with the best players of your country.
Yeah, no, and it's the same for us. Oh, it's like you mentioned the history, the guys that built what USA Volleyball is today. You're playing for them as well. You're playing for your family. You're playing for the guys next to you, and you're playing for everything what the United States flag represents. And freedom, opportunity, and just you're playing for a lot. You're also representing millions and millions of people back home. So it feels like I'm proud to wear it. I'm very, very proud to wear it. And just knowing how long it took me to be able to put the jersey on,
yes,
that wears that flag, also just makes it even a little bit more special to me. And I just couldn't be more proud. I think about, I had two grandfathers that many of us have family members who served in the military. I had one grandfather serve in World War II, and one's grandfather served in the Korean War. So I think about them as well during each national anthem, and yeah, it's just a very proud moment, and you immediately just want to do the absolute best you possibly can, so yeah, it's a great moment.
Yes, I understand you absolutely. Even that when Chile never has been in the Olympics, or we never have won anything important, but we love volleyball, we love our country, so I understand you absolutely. And I wanted to change the subject of our conversation, asking you something maybe, for me it's not too easy, but for some people it's easy too. If you have an ideal team today, what players would you choose to be in your team? You're the captain or you're the coach, but which player you would choose to play with you in the Olympics, or maybe I don't know, in some league?
This is so hard, because I have so many.
I have an historic team, an actual team, a Chilean team. I don't know, but maybe do you have some in mind?
Yeah. This is very difficult. I don't know. I don't know if I want to pick any active players, because there's so many guys that I'm close with. So historically, maybe I would love to block with Clay Stanley next to me. That'd be amazing. I would love to have Jiba behind me playing defense, as well as Sergio. Sergio, I think I would attack a lot of balls with Sergio in reception. Setter, I'll have to go with Mr. Loy Ball, because he's just I've had the pleasure of meeting him and getting to know him a little bit, and he's been extremely helpful to me. So I would love to share the court with him as a setter. And I think I'm just missing one more outside and one more in the middle. I mentioned Dante earlier, so why not a little USA Brazil combination? And then one more middle block. Who's the other middle blocker I'd like to share the court with?
Lucas, you said Lucao from Brazil, maybe.
I did say Lucao. Maybe I was trying to find maybe one other country, not just make it Brazil, United States, but actually, one player that I've really admired recently, and I didn't get the chance to play against him, but I got to see him live with Sebastian Solé from Argentina.
Argentina, fantastic.
And this is one player I've always admired his game, and both in block and attack. He's just also his intensity, his passion. So I'll throw a modern player in as well, Mr. Sebastian Solé.
Super. And we talked about this before in our introduction of this interview, but I wanted to ask you again about your possible plans after you will think to retire as an active player. Do you have maybe sometimes thought about this? Because I have interviewed many players, and it's not an easy question, because you're an active player, you love to play, it's sometimes it's hard to think in the future about being an active player. And in some countries, I know they have politics about to help athletes to make this transition from being an active player to be an not active player. Do you have something in mind? Would you like to be still in sport involved, or maybe not?
Another great question, and I think I'm like many athletes who are very unsure. Right now, I currently try to extend my knowledge and my resources to younger players. I try to do a bit of a mentorship program for them, and I try to give back to the next generation as much as possible, whether it's doing camps in the summertime for young players, or helping out with local upstate New York clubs. So yeah, it's a possibility. I think I understand the game very well, and sometimes I feel like I can really get the point across to a younger player. So potentially maybe coaching or getting involved with the junior volleyball, or maybe even at the collegiate level. It's interesting to me. But I have other interests in life, but I'm not sure exactly what the plan will be after volleyball. But my goal is to try and figure that out in the near future.
Fantastic. As I said you before, also I met Silvano Prandi in last year in United States at the International Volleyball Hall of Fame ceremony of the class of 2023 in Holyoke. And he was an amazing guy. He told only about volleyball. His life is volleyball. He told me, especially, he told me about your training process, and it was very interesting to know. Maybe I'm new in this, but he told me when you stop training, many players, maybe you, keep going on training, trying to correct some things, maybe block and defense and serve, and he encouraged you to do this after stopping the training time, to keep training. What do you think about this? maybe for us, we stop training and we go home, we're very tired, we get for a beer, but what was it for you? Maybe be part of this different system of training, or maybe in the professional league, you all do this because you wanted to get better, wanted to win. How do you feel about this?
I've always been the type of player to, I don't know, if I feel like I did not accomplish what I wanted to accomplish in the practice, I've always been the player to stay and continue to work. I don't know. I feel like I can always be doing more, and maybe that's just something in my head and something kind of, I don't know, I have uniquely. But I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of players like to stay after and continue to work. But yeah, this is my mentality. I feel like if you do this, if you do get what you want accomplished, you're going to be much better in your mind, and you're going to be more confident. So I'm always encouraging guys, yeah, if you want, I'll stay with you. You know, if you want to take reception, I'll set the ball after. Like I'm with you. So yeah, now I try to like respect the coach. Then that's like something you learn as a professional. When the coach says stop,
Yeah.
it's up. You can ask, and then if he says no, then okay, you have to respect what he says. Yeah. But yeah, always trying to find that balance, and yeah, and then usually when the coach understands his player and knows kind of like, okay, he's not going to get too tired, like if he stays 5 more minutes and serve, like, you know, you can develop this trust and this confidence from your coach to end up working more. But yeah, for me, I'm always trying to do too much, I think, sometimes, and but it's helped me get here now. So
I understand. And finally, do you have some championship or some season you remember the most as your until now best season, where you have felt incredible, good playing, comfortable with your team? Do you have some memory, or maybe hopefully it's the Los Angeles Olympic Games, but until now, do you have some in mind?
I hope you're right. I hope it is in 4 years in Los Angeles, but you know, I can honestly say I've had such a great experience, and I'm so fortunate for this. I've had such a great experience with all the teams I've played on. They've been such amazing groups. I've had, again, you know, one season where my first season ever professionally, we were in the relegation matches, but still this group was incredible to play with. And another season in France, we were in this sort of play out format, and it was one of the hardest, most unpleasant times that you could have, but the group was so solid and such a great, you know, team spirit. It made up for it, you know. My favorite, or most memorable, I should say, memorable season, but I have to say my first season in Chaumont 2 seasons ago, we arrived in the French finals. This was a very difficult season for me because it wasn't I'll say difficult season because we had 3 very talented middles, like always in Chaumont.
Yeah.
And I found myself more in the 3rd spot of that, of those 3 middle blockers. But it arrived at one moment in the playoffs where one of our guys were injured and I had to play and step up, and I got into a really good rhythm in the playoffs, and ended up becoming the starter throughout the semifinals and finals. And we were so close to winning the championship. It was so motivating. I've never like experienced so much motivation after a loss than it was that second game against Tours. But that season, you know, making such an achievement like that was so very, 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 very memorable. And yeah, it's hard to match that. We had a great group in Cambrai, my first year in Cambrai, where we finished in 1st place, and very memorable. COVID ended the season, and we ended up getting promoted. So that was when we went from League B to League A in France, and that was another very memorable season. But again, I've just been very fortunate. No matter how great of a season it's been or how low of a season it's been, I've been a part of such great groups. So it makes every season very memorable.
Michael, I again want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy over there with your training and the games. I thank your words. I thank your motivation to speak with me. I want to invite you to stay connected with me, with my channels, hopefully, and send you my best wishes for you, for your career, hopefully for your national team career. And that's all. I wanted to thank you, and again, send you my best wishes. And I'm very, very honored to meet you. So many thanks again, Michael. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you as well. The honor is mine as well, and the pleasure is mine as well. And I feel very, very fortunate and grateful to join the list of people you've gotten to talk to on this channel. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your kind words.
Fantastic.